Hello my friends, welcome back to another video. My name is Ian with Out of This World Reader, and today's video is going to be a book chat. I haven't done one of these in quite some time, and I'm very excited to do one on one of my most anticipated releases of last year. I was really hoping to get to it last year, but then with everything going on with university and stuff, it kind of got pushed back into 2022, and it was a book club pick for February for the Biblionauts. But that book was All of Us Villains by Amanda Foody and Christine Lynn Herman. When I first read the premise, I was thinking that it was going to be a little bit of Hunger Games mixed with some magic, and that's what really drew it to me, because it was following kind of some morally gray characters as well as the elements of this Hunger Games and kind of like a fight to the death. And then just to top it all off, with the cherry on top, you put some magic in there as well. So I was like really eager to pick this up as soon as I saw it. But if you haven't heard of this follows 4 different perspectives who all live in this small town, and it's all centered around like this curse that happens every 20 years. But every 20 years, the blood veil kind of falls and the whole town is trapped. And then as well, there's another kind of veil that falls and traps in competitors, champions, within an arena kind of surrounded by different landmarks. And within this arena, the champions have to fight to death. But the winner of this competition gets control over the well of power, the high magic. But high magic kind of disappeared in the world, and it's all left within this kind of town. But now this competition kind of takes center stage as a book kind of gets out, telling the tales of about all the past games that has happened in this small town, because this kind of veil has been falling every 20 years for like over centuries. I believe like 800 years or something like that. So there's a lot of rich history and lore behind the games. And with this book, the media and just paparazzi, curse chasers, and all kinds of people just come rushing into the town to figure out who's going to win and what's going to happen to the high magic well. But like I mentioned, you follow 4 different perspectives. You follow Gavin, Isabel, Alistair, and Brioni. But each of them kind of come from different rival families. But these magical families kind of basically control the town, and they basically influence everything going on. And since like the winners have basically control the whole high magic, they basically control the town as well. And each perspective kind of comes from a different family, and just seeing how they have kind of been trained to essentially fight to the death in an arena. So I did like how this setup of just following 4 different perspectives from the different families and seeing how they were going to, how their kind of rivalry as they grew up and having to change once they knew that they had become a champion and they were going to fight to the death in the arena. So like seeing kind of friendships that kind of developed in the past kind of change because of these games. I really enjoyed that, as well as kind of the elements of the blood veil. And then every 20 years when the blood veil falls again, like this curse kind of comes back and they're kind of all thrown into just the games. I really like that. The Hunger Games is probably one of my favorite novels that I read a couple years ago. I know I didn't read it when it came out, but I just enjoyed just the whole, like, as dark as it sounds, like I enjoyed like just the competition of kids killing each other. Like that's so bad to say, but like I just enjoyed kind of like the high stakes, and I was hoping that this would have those same high stakes. Like it almost felt like in the Hunger Games, you know how the districts 1 and 2 and 3 all kind of basically trained their whole life for this competition. That's what I kind of felt like in this book, as these kids they're raised to kill each other and to fight to the death to control the well of power. So that's what I really enjoyed. Like I was hoping that in the beginning, like that's what I was feeling, was those high stakes and just like not knowing who was going to be the champion or who was going to make it out because of just everything that they've been trained for. But that being said, like from the premise, I was hoping for that high stakes similar in the Hunger Games, but I just wasn't getting that. I guess I was expecting, like as bad as it is to say, like I was expecting more kids to die in these games. Like there's only 7 high families in this small town, so you only have 7 champions. So I feel like if there was maybe more kind of families included and just made it more competitors, champions into the game, similar to the Hunger Games, like you had 2 from each district, so there's like 24 competitors, so there's more death. I felt like that would have been more intriguing and just more high stakes, because I felt like with just like a smaller amount of champions, Like even though they were all trained to kill, like it just didn't feel as high stakes kind of once the games begin, and it like almost felt like slower once the games kind of begin because just some events that kind of unfolded. They all are kind of going on different routes, and you don't know like who's trying to win and who's trying to do other things, so you just really don't know. And I felt like just those high stakes kind of disappeared as soon as the games kind of begin. Like early on in the games, like they were there, but then towards as it kind of progressed, like a lot of time passed, and it just kind of felt like repetitive and didn't feel like it was kind of going anywhere as like what I was believing from the premise. So I was really disappointed by that. But also before the veil began, like it was hinting at some other things kind of that might occur once the veil dropped, and I kind of expected those. Whenever the veil did drop and the games kind of did begin, the competition began, and I was kind of disappointed by just the twist that it kind of took from the original games, like, and because of just like those high stakes that I was kind of hoping for, like in the Hunger Games, I was hoping that those would kind of continue on, but I just didn't really like the twist, I guess. I was still like expecting them to kind of solve everything going on once the veil like dropped, and like the twist that was, and kind of like the lore behind it, the curse and how it all has kind of influenced everything. So I was expecting that going into the veil, but I just didn't like that the route that it took once the veil dropped. Like it could have went a whole different other way with continuing those high stakes, but because it took like a different route and there were some other things like included that I can't go into without spoilers, I didn't like just that route that it took. I also didn't like the elements of the paparazzi and kind of the media and being involved in these games. I feel like it would have been a ton better if it took place back in time before all that, and it just focused more on the games or the competition rather than kind of like the paparazzi. And I felt like the paparazzi only kind of contributed to this drama that occurred towards the kind of middle chunk, towards the later half of the book. And I also didn't like that drama at all. Like I felt like it could have been kind of not included and just continued on with where it was going. Also, like I found the magic very interesting with like the curse rings, and each ring kind of having a different curse that they could use and just different abilities that they could harness from just the magic within the rings. But it felt like just the magic could just solve any problem that arose. Like a problem would kind of happen, and then just out of the top of the hat there was always a curse ring to kind of solve the problem. Like I kind of understand that like we're preparing for these games and they kind of were going in, but I just find it hard to believe that they went into the games with every curse ring, like every solution to any problem that would kind of come up and arise in here. So I was disappointed by that. Like it sounds like this is like a rant review. Like there was really a lot of things that I did enjoy, but there's also just a lot that just felt like it could have been improved and I was hoping for more from. And the final things that I'll kind of touch on with the plot, I felt like the ending was really predictable based on kind of just early on in the beginning. Like I had kind of things pieced together, and I had a feeling that that was where it was going to go in the ending. And I wished that this would have been a standalone and kind of just focused more on just the things that I was hoping for. And that's just a personal thing. Like a lot of other people might have enjoyed the route that it kind of took in the middle chunk of the book, but I just was hoping for more and a different route that could have been taken with that same thing to make it just a standalone. Now for the characters, I definitely enjoyed kind of like this different take on the Hunger Games. Like in the Hunger Games you had different people from different walks of life, but I felt like each of these characters was each morally gray and kind of villainous in their own way, and I really enjoyed that because it kind of reminded me of those same districts, the same 3 districts where they're all kind of competitive and they just want to kill. Like that's what I was kind of expecting based on the premise, and that's what I really got with each of the characters. And although they did change in the arena once the veil kind of dropped, like they still had like those elements of being morally gray and villainous, and that just continued throughout the story. So I was really happy with that. And I feel like I definitely connected with 2 of the main perspectives out of the 4, and that would be Isabel and Gavin. Isabel because of just her family and just understanding how her past, and I found like her as a family was very interesting because her mom is one of the spell makers, the curse makers in the town, and then her father comes from the Vale, so she has kind of 2 different sides. And each one, like, once you learn more about just her past and how it has kind of influenced her and both the games, Like I just really connected with her as well as with Gavin because he's just the underdog, and I always love the underdog in kind of any story that I pick up. The only thing that I didn't really kind of like, and that was kind of mentioned more about just like the drama that kind of unfolded in the later chunk of the book, like I didn't enjoy that, and it kind of connected to specific characters, and just I like it almost couldn't, like it just all had to deal with kind of the paparazzi and just how the games kind of came to be. Like I just didn't enjoy that drama, and I felt like it would have been just a ton better if it wasn't included. And the last thing that I'll kind of touch on is the world building. I really just enjoyed, like I mentioned, just the arena setting and how once the veil kind of dropped, you had like this smaller arena that had like the several different landmarks and just like the elements of just the artifacts kind of dropping and adding into just the competition, as well as a second veil that kind of trapped the city, the little town within. So like all those within the town couldn't leave either until the games ended like 3 months or 3 weeks later. And also with the veil, like it added, they call it like the blood veil, and it changed the color of the sky, so like everything was red. So it just really kind of added to just like the atmosphere of just the competition and just with just everything going on. And so I just really enjoyed just like the atmosphere and just the element of the blood veil. I already kind of mentioned a little bit about the curse rings, but the other thing that I was kind of hoping for the magic was just the curse rings had like an infinite source of magic. Like I know they had to kind of refill them after they used them up, but I just felt like that was just like it was always convenient. Like they always just had enough, and that just didn't really kind of add to the high stakes that I was kind of promised in the premise. I felt like it would have been just a lot more high stakes if they kind of took the route with what happened to Gavin in the beginning of the book, and how there was kind of consequences to using the magic. And that's as far as I'll go without kind of going into spoilers. And the last thing that I'll touch on is just the lore around the blood veil and how it's kind of just impacted this tiny town, or this growing town, over just the centuries, and how each family has had their own kind of champions, but mostly kind of one family has kind of ruled everything. And once you learn more about how and like how they kind of did it all, like I just enjoy just like the lore and history behind it. Who would I recommend this for? I would say that if you did enjoy kind of the Hunger Games and you're looking for following kind of some morally gray and villainous characters, I would definitely check this out. And if any of this I've kind of mentioned has sounded interesting, definitely give it a try. There's also a book that I can't think of off the top of my head, but it's very similar to this, I believe. It's just adult, so I'm hoping that I can figure out what that book is and check that out. But that being said, like overall, I did enjoy this. I think I ended up giving this 3 stars. And that was mainly because of just like the elements of just like the curse rings being convenient at any opponent that they kind of faced, or challenge that kind of occurred, as well as kind of like just some other like little picky things that are personal to me that I just didn't enjoy in it. And I was kind of expecting more from it based on the premise. But I'm very curious to see where it will go in the second book. I believe this is only going to be a duology, but I will definitely pick it up and see how it all kind of finishes up. But that is going to be all for today's little book chat. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you in the next adventures. So if you did enjoy, please consider liking and subscribing so you never miss out on another adventure. But it is time for Ellie to come on here and first wish you all a splendid day. But she also says that adventure is out there, so I'll catch you next time. Bye.